Before we jump into the next tutorial, I'd like to take a quick minute to thank my supporters of the channel. These people have thrown a few bucks my way, bought enough to buy a pizza once a month to keep me fed while I'm doing these videos. So I'd like to thank Matthias Alstrom, Nelson Asada, Joe Van Overberg, C. Scott Kippen, Stephen Stu Stewart, which most people here probably know, Larry Maxwell, and my partner in ASL crime on this very channel, Scott Rowland. If you would like to help me buy a little bit more pizza, you can join the supporter roll call. Just click on the join button just below this video here and on the main page of the channel. If you choose to donate, that would be great. If you don't, that's also great. Let me know if you want to see anything in these videos, and let's go on to the tutorial now. Let's do some more defensive fire. This is tutorial 9, and I thought I would do a part 2 of defensive fire principles. In this case, I just set up a different board, threw some units down that are similar to a scenario we played a while ago, me and my buddy Anzac Boys. The beginning of it, after the British moved on, looked a little like this. So I'm just going to move some units around, take some defensive fire. I'm not going to go into all the details of all the calculations for firepower, die roll modifiers. I'm just going to play it out to show you how the defensive fire principles work. And keep in mind that what I do may not make a whole lot of tactical sense because I'm not really thinking about it, taking time to think about it. I'm just going to move stuff around and fire and give you another example of how defensive fire works. But before I do that, let me put up one final quick summary of the defensive fire principles from section A8 in the infantry chapter. Okay, so there are 4 parts, one final summary, 4 parts to defensive fire. The top portion here in green are the phases that take place, or subphases that take place during the movement phase. And it affects only units that have expended movement factors if they get fired on. And these happen during your opponent's movement phase. So there's defensive first fire, and that can be versus any unit expending movement factors. There is then subsequent first fire, which is half firepower versus closest units expending movement factors, or equal distance to the closest units that may be on the board. Then the third part of defensive first fire is called final protective fire, and that is at half firepower versus adjacent or same hex units that have expended movement factors during the movement phase. And the kicker, as I said in tutorial 8, the original infantry fire table die roll equals a normal morale check for firing units. Random selection applies to the hex that's doing the firing. Okay, those in the green box, that only happens during the movement phase. The final fire in the purple box, which is color-coded to the phases you see up here, or right up there, purple is defensive fire phase. This affects all units in a hex being fired on. No movement, no units are moving, so it can affect everything in the hex. Any unfired unit may fire at any other defending unit, whether they've moved or not. They can fire at anything as long as they have not fired at full strength. And if they're marked with the first fire counter, those units are able to fire during the defensive fire phase at half firepower versus adjacent or same hex units. Okay, those are the 4 bullets and sub bullets. Those are the main takeaways from section A8. If you remember those are basically the fundamentals of all the defensive fire. There are some details in there that you do need to know, so obviously read the section. But if you can remember those 4 things, those 4 bullets and a few sub bullets there, that's pretty much it for defensive fire in a nutshell, and that'll get you a long way in better understanding firing on units that are moving. So let's jump into me moving units around and firing at things. Let me get rid of that slide, and let me pull down the infantry fire table like I did in tutorial 8, so I'm not always swapping a piece of paper on and off the screen. Let me just reach up here and pull the infantry fire table right down about there, and we'll just have that on screen and use that as we play. All right, I'm not going to do a lot of writing, so I'm just going to set the dice here and go from there. Let's start moving some stuff around. That's the British. It's going to be their movement phase. It's their turn. They're going to move. I'm not going to, normally I might prep fire some stuff here to soften up the Germans, but I'm not going to here. I'm just going to move, and the Germans are going to fire to demonstrate defensive fire principles. So basically we have British, got 3 British leaders, 2 German leaders. Looks like the British outnumber the Germans, which is usually the case when you are the attacker in ASL. So let's just start winging it and see how it goes. Let's start over here on Sergeant with Sergeant Higgins, and let's see. Let's take a squad underneath here. Sergeant Higgins, 8-0 is going to stay there. I'm going to declare double time with these guys. They're going to go 2 into the brush. They've expended 2 movement factors. The only German units I can see them are these guys. None of these guys can see them. So these guys could take a shot. There's a squad and a half squad there. I could fire both, either, none at them in that brush hex there, which I probably will. I think I'll take a shot there because I'm probably gonna I double time. Where my double time counters at? They're probably gonna jump into this stone building, so I'm gonna take a shot. 7 or 6 firepower. 7 firepower total. Goes down to 6 on the infantry fire table. Brush is a hindrance, not a terrain effect modifier, but it's not same hex hindrance. All it does is negate moving in the open. So there's actually a -1 shot on this because brush is not terrain effect minor. So -1 non-assault movement. So it's going to be a 6 -1. This could hurt me, but that's okay. We're just messing around here. Didn't do anything. It's a 10 on a 6, which is nothing. So as we know from the previous tutorial, we marked these guys first fire. They expended 2 there. They could be fired on again. Oh wait, let me go back. That was 6 firepower. Half of that is 3. That goes down to 2 residual firepower in that hex. And I think I'm going to fire again. If you remember the previous slide that I put up there, half firepower at closest or equidistance to the closest enemy unit. 2 hexes here, 2 hexes here. They can eligible to fire here. So it's going to be 7 down to 3.5, which goes down to 2 on the infantry fire table, -1 for non-assault movement. So 2 -1. Subsequent first fire. 4 on a 2, that's going to be a 1 MC. Got a morale of 7. Got a 6. I am good to go. No additional residual is left there because 2 is greater than 1 residual, which would have been left from that subsequent first fire. Flip this over to final fire. Now, these guys basically cannot fire again unless something moves adjacent to them. So I am going to keep moving this guy. Residual stays there. 1 more to get over the hedge for 3 total. 2 to get in the building for 5, and he'll stop there. I'm going to move this squad. I think I'll try to pop smoke there. Need to roll a 1 or 2. 4, no smoke. So that cost me 2 movement factors. And then for the hell of it, I'll just go like that for 1 more. 3 movement factors. They're marked final fire. They're adjacent. They can subsequent first fire, but it acts as a morale check. And I'll do that. So it's going to be 7 down to 3.5 down to 2 on the chart. 2 minus 2 because I did not assault move. So non-assault movement and moving in the open. 2 minus 2 for final protective fire. And this acts as a morale check. 6 on a 2 is a pin check on the squad in the road there. Pin check. He is pinned. So he will not be able to advance into that hex if he wanted to. I rolled, I think the original was an 8 there. Acts as a morale check. These guys are both pinned now as well. Because I rolled an 8, it's equal to their morale. So they are pinned. Okay. And Higgins is going to go 2. He's going to be hit with 2 residual fire. I am not sure. I don't remember if these units become pinned, if that affects the residual fire. I'll check that out and I'll stick a note, bubble note in here. But right now I'm just going to roll a 2 minus 1 for non-assault movement there for the residual. I'll leave a note if the pinning affects that. I cannot remember. No result. So 2, 3 over the hedge, 4, 5 into the building. Okay, we're done on this side. Let's see. Let's come over here, and I've got the squad and a light machine gun. They are going to go. They're going to go 2. I have a lot of fire opportunities here. I think all of these guys can definitely see them. The stack might be able to see them. Probably, it looks like it. With a hindrance there. These guys have a hindrance of the brush as well. Let me see. I'm a little worried about these guys from the German point of view of what they're going to do. I don't want to spend too much time firing at them. But I think I'll take a shot with... I think I'll take a shot with these guys here. Squad, light machine gun, 7. So it's going to go down to 6 firepower. +1 for the hindrance, which it negates. Sorry, there's no FMO. They're in the woods, obviously. +1 for the hindrance there. +1 for the wood stem. -1 not assault movement. So it's going to be a 6 +1 shot. 12 on a 6 is absolutely nothing. Now, normally that would leave 2 residual fire there, but for each positive modifier outside the target hex and the firing hex, you reduce by 1 column. So this hindrance for the brush reduces that residual fire by 1. So it goes down from 6. Half of that's 3, which rounds down to 1.5, which is 1. Or sorry, it goes down to the 2 firepower column, and then it goes down 1 column due to the hindrance, down to 1 residual, and they're marked first fire. So they went 2, and what do I have in here? Got oh yeah, 2 half squads manning machine guns, and remember, a half squad can either fire their inherent firepower or the support weapon. They cannot fire both. If this was a full squad, they could combine their firepower. So these guys can only fire the machine guns they are manning in this case. So let's go for the hell of it again. 4 into there. So they went 2, 4. And I'm going to fire just the light machine gun, not using the leader. So this half squad firing just the light machine gun. So that's 3 firepower, doubled to 6 for point blank fire. And then it's going to be -1 for not assault movement. There's no hindrance effect other than negating movement in the open. So it's going to be 6 minus 1. Dang. Oh, this could be good. This could be bad, actually. That was a 1. Oh boy, snake eyes. Okay, so that was a 6 minus 1, right? Yeah. So it's a 1 on a 6, but they cowered because there was no leader directing their fire. So that goes down to next column, which is 4. 1 on a 4 is a 1 KIA. Yep. So these guys are toast. Oop. Need to work on my tweezer skills. And these guys are marked with a final fire counter. That's what happens when you cower. You're immediately marked with a final fire counter. Even though that light machine gun maintained rate of fire, they have now final fired. So six firepower. Half of that is 3, down to 2, down to 1 because they cowered. There should be 1 residual in there if I got that right. And I don't have another residual counter here. Okay, let's just pretend there's 1 residual there. And if I'm screwing up any of these numbers, because I don't have anyone here keeping me honest, keep me honest in the comments below if you notice I made a mistake, because we all make mistakes when we're playing. Oh, this guy got toasted. Light machine gun stays there. So when you get a final KIA resulting on the infantry fire table, make a single die roll on the same column of the infantry fire table for each support weapon gun possessed. So that was a 6, cowered down to a 4. So roll the 5. It's light machine gun stays there. If you get a if you get a KIA, the support weapon is eliminated. If you get a K/number, the support weapon would be malfunctioned. In this case, I got a 5 on a 4 is a 1 MC, which does not affect support weapons. So these guys are final fired. They have not fired yet. They have first fired. Let's come back over here. Let's take this squad and go 1 to the orchard. No one has line of sight to them at all. And 2 to there. Let's see, what does Sergeant Fink have? He's got a squad and a half squad. Now, if I fired at him, that's 2 hexes. That would kind of lock in any subsequent first fire unless these units moved, within this radius closer. If they skirted and gone this way, I would not even be able to fire at them because they'd be able to fire there. That's 2 hexes. But they wouldn't be able to fire anything here, 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 etc. So if I fired these units, that would lock them in. So I am going to, these guys have light machine guns. These guys have 2 squads and a leader. I am going to withhold firing. I'm just going to let those guys move into there and not fire at all. Let's go this squad here. Let's go 2. Now I might fire because I have a light machine gun, a little more threatening. I could leave some residual there in case Sergeant Todd and gang want to come up here. But Sergeant Todd may gang rush me up through these orchards, which gives them a little cover. And none of these guys, except maybe they would have line of sight, could fire because they're final fired, they're first fired. These guys are holding their attention because they're closer. They would not even be able to fire. So, even if they do bum rush me and they come closer, I could still fire at them. So, yeah, I'll take a first fire shot here. It's going to be I'll do both, squad and half squad. It's going to be 6 firepower, +1 for orchard, +1 woods, -1 non-assault movement. So it's going to be a 6 + 1 on there from Sergeant Fink. 6 + 1, 8 on a 6 should be a pin check if I recall. Yep, pin check. Let's roll for that British squad. 8. They have a morale of 8. They pass. They are not pinned. Fink and gang are first fired. Sergeant Todd, let's do that. Let's bum rush that building. See if we can get in there. Just the squad. We'll go 1 into the orchard. Okay. Now 1, 2, they cannot fire until I move there. If I do, these guys are in this hex. That might be blocked, but I'm going to save them for whatever Hopkinson does. And these guys could now fire at them, but I'm going to wait and see if they come any closer. So 1, 2, I will subsequent first fire with these guys. Squad and half squad, so 6. Subsequent first fire is area fire, so half firepower goes down to 3. Then it's point blank fire, so it goes doubles back up to 6. And we've got the orchards negate movement in the open, but there's still non-assault movement, so it's going to be a 6 minus 1. Orchard has no terrain effect modifier, but it negates moving in the open. So 6 minus 1. 6 on a 6 is a 1 MC. Got a morale of 8. They failed 11. If they had an ELR of 2 or less, they would have ELR'd and be reduced in quality. But I didn't. I didn't assign ELR to any of these units. So talk about that later. They broke. Oop. And there are 2 residual here. I did not get out enough residual counters. Do I have any here? Oh, where are they? They are. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's another untrimmed counter. Stay calm, everyone. Stay calm. 2 residual there. And these guys are now final fired because they subsequent first fired. So you flip the first fire over to final fire. Now I'm going to take this squad. These guys can't fire. These guys might be able to fire if they have line of sight. I'm saving them for this stack. Instead of running through the residual, so the only one that can really fire at me are these guys. And I have to be adjacent to them now if you remember the final fire bullet in the slide. So I'm just going to skirt around this residual fire. I'm not going to run through all that. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to there. Now I'm adjacent to these guys. They're marked final fire, but they can final protective fire. So final protective fire is essentially a subsequent first fire with the infantry fire table die roll acting as a morale check, like we did over here. So let's do that. So squad, half squad, 6 firepower, down to 3 for area fire, then back up to 6 for point blank fire. And it's going to be a 6 minus 1 because they're non-assault movement. Orchard negates moving in the open. So it's going to be another risky 6 minus 1 with a morale check. Wow. They're no effect. And they cowered. Well, they're already marked final fire. So they casualty reduced. So they failed a morale check, but they casualty reduced. So random selection. I'll roll 1 dice, top to bottom. 5, 6. Okay, this second one is, we'll use toast. So they all broke first. They all broke. Oh no, I'm sorry. Random selection. Man, like I said, I need to work on my skills there. So your random selection determines which one is affected by the infantry fire table original die roll for final protective fire. In this case, it happened to be a 12. It was a casualty reduction, right? But random selection determined this guy here. So he broke, but he suffered casualty reduction, so he was eliminated. And they're still marked final fire. If I would have had a tie on that, it probably would have been ELR too, possibly. But I didn't tie. I just rolled 1 for the half squad. And these guys are done moving, and that's going to leave. They also, well, they did not cower because there's a leader in that hex, so that leaves 2 residual there as well. That's the wrong one. 2 residual. Now I'm going to run Sergeant Todd. Just going to YOLO up the road here for 1, 2. He's going to be attacked with a 2-1. 2-1 for the residual for non-assault movement. 6 on a 2 is a pin check. Needs an 8. Passed. Do I dare final protective fire? I probably should, because they're going to jump into close combat probably. So half squad's gone. So final protective fire is 1 squad 4 down to 2, back up to 4 for point blank, -1 non-assault movement. 4 -1. Within, this is a morale check. 5 on a 4 is a 1 MC. Do the MC on the Sergeant Todd first. 5 plus 1, 6. He passes, and that roll was well under the morale, the original roll. They both passed their final protective fire morale check, but I have basically 2 squads set up. Well, that guy broke. I forgot. DM. Where's my DM? Okay, I have 1 squad and a leader that might jump into close combat there. They're done. They're essentially done. Let's go over to Lieutenant Hopkinson. Let me see what I have in here. Two squads, 2 light machine guns, and Lieutenant Hopkinson. I want to tread carefully here. I got this medium machine gun here, and these guys are still only first fired. I'm going to try something crazy here. I'm going to go 2, 4. That's going to be 1 residual firepower, and it's going to be even because it's -1 non-assault movement plus 1 woods, so 1 even. Nothing. Yeah, I'll just leave them there. And this squad will go same thing. They'll go 2, 4, same residual firepower attack, 1 even. Again, keep me honest, guys, if I screw something up. 6 on a 1, just missed a pin task check. And then Lieutenant Hopkinson is going to go 2, 4. Notice I haven't fired these guys. I'm going to save them for a final fire. I could have fired these guys at subsequent first fire. It would have been, it's a half squad. No, it's a full squad. Yeah, it would have probably not amounted to much if I refired on him. One of those. I'll fire on Hopkinson here. But first, let's do the residual fire. 1, even. Nothing. Now I'll subsequent first fire. Everything is within 2, the British, so they can fire on Hopkinson. Subsequent first fire is going to be 7 down to 3.5, which goes down to 2. Now, if you remember from the previous tutorial, if you fire your machine gun A machine gun during subsequent first fire is sustained fire, and the breakdown number goes down, as well does the elimination number. Since firing it doesn't gain me anything, I'll just fire the squad, because it'll still be the same 2 firepower. 4 goes down to 2 instead of 7 down to 3.5, then going down to 2 on the infantry fire table. So I'm not going to fire the machine gun and risk breaking it. So I'm going to go 2 plus 1 brush endurance plus 1 woods minus 1 non-assault movement. So it's going to be a 2 plus 1 subsequent first fire on just Lieutenant Hopkinson. That's a big nothing. There, marked final fire. Oops. And I'm done moving. So now we clear all the residual firepower because we're moving into the defensive fire phase after the movement phase. Remove all your status counters. And you'll notice here, I might have mentioned this before, but the cool thing that they did with ASL is, let me put a residual firepower counter back out here. I'll just put it here. The color of the informational counters is the same color as the phases in the rule book. And that means at the end of that phase, you remove those information counters. So at the end of movement, I should not have removed the final fire counters. See, I'm like going against my words here. So these guys are final fired. Okay. So at the end of the movement phase, these are green, so remove all residual firepower. I think there's one over here. Remove those. Now the reason you don't remove the defensive fire counters that are marked purple, this purplish color, which is the same as the phase color up here, is you want to know which units are still available to fire in final fire. In this case, just these guys, because they have not fired at all. If you take them off, you forget. So that was my bad there. Leave they're purple coated. You don't remove them until the end of the defensive fire phase, which we are in now. So the only units I have available to fire is Sergeant Wells, the medium machine gun, and the half squad. Half squad can just fire the medium machine gun. They're going to take a shot at Hopkinson. It's going to be just 5 firepower, which goes down to 4. It's going to be a +1 TEM firing down between these 2 hexes here for the brush, and then +1 for the woods. Nobody is moving, so there's no FNAM, FMO modifiers at all. Everyone's done moving. Everyone is sitting in place. And this firepower will affect this entire stack because movement is done and we're in the actual defensive fire phase. So it's going to be a 4 +1 +2 woods -1. So 4 +1 total. Let's see if I get rate of fire. I did not. I almost broke the thing. That's no effect. If I had got rate of fire, I don't know what, 6 on a 4 would be a normal morale check. Everyone would have to take a morale check, leader first, and then I could fire the medium machine gun again. As long as I keep rolling a 1 or a 2, I could keep firing this bad boy. Heavy machine guns have a rate of fire 3, and they are deadly weapons. Deadly weapons. Okay, they fired. Everybody's fired. They're marked with a final fire counter. Nobody can fire anymore, so defensive fire is over, and you remove all. Now you remove all your purple colored informational counters. In this case, your defensive fire counters. And that is the end of, oops, residual should have gone away. That is the end of Defensive Fire Principles 2. A quick run through of some not so tactically adept moves, just things I'm moving around to give you a flavor, a second exposure and flavor to Defensive Fire Principles. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. I try to answer every question that's posted or every comment or respond to them in some way if I can. Um, and that's going to be it. I'm going to be done with defensive fire. The only time you'll see it is when I go into examples of play. So if you watch those videos and you're a little unsure, come back to these videos and at least look at the beginning slide at the beginning of tutorial 8 or through tutorial 8. There's various slides in there that have more detail on each of the defensive fire phase types or defensive fire types, and definitely the primer at the beginning of this video is very helpful. Let me do my end of video roll. I'm sure I'm going to roll boxcars because that's how I roll. 4. Very nice. Okay. Next time I'm going to do maybe visual fire in more detail and fire lanes like I previously mentioned. Then we're going to get into probably morale and route, and then probably snipers and the art of placing your sniper counters and how to avoid things you can do to avoid getting beaten up by your opponent's sniper. Um, if they have a high sniper activation number and you're rolling it a lot. There are methods to avoid the impact of snipers, and I'll go over those ideas and tactics at that time down the road. Okay, I'll see you next time. Until then, roll low.